Finley was an unremarkable fish living in the winding River Serene. From his birth, he had been surrounded by the gentle flow of the river, the lush underwater vegetation, and the myriad of fish who called it home. The river was his entire world, stretching far and wide, but it was the section he lived in that he knew best. Finley was a small, silver-scaled fish, with eyes that sparkled with curiosity, but a nature that was cautious and reserved. Every day was a routine for Finley. He would swim through the tall grasses that swayed gently with the current, nibble on tiny crustaceans that clung to the rocks, and play hide-and-seek with the smaller fish in the shallows. It was a peaceful life, and Finley was content with it. One bright morning, as Finley swam lazily near the riverbed, he noticed something unusual. A shimmering object caught his eye, partially buried in the sand. It was unlike anything he had ever seen before, gleaming with a mysterious light that seemed to pulse in time with the current. Curious, Finley darted closer, cautiously observing the strange object. It was round, with intricate patterns etched into its surface. Finley's best friend, a colorful fish named Coral, swam up beside him. Coral was always full of energy and excitement, a stark contrast to Finley's more subdued nature. "What's that, Finley?" Coral asked, her eyes wide with wonder. "I don't know," Finley replied, "but it's definitely not something I've seen before." The two fish stared at the object, their minds racing with possibilities. Little did they know, this discovery would change their lives forever. Finley and Coral couldn't stop thinking about the object they had found. The patterns on its surface seemed to move and shift, creating a mesmerizing dance of light and shadow. They decided to take a closer look, hoping to uncover its secrets. "Let's dig it out," Coral suggested, her fins twitching with excitement. Finley hesitated, but his curiosity eventually got the better of him. Together, they used their fins to carefully move the sand, revealing more of the mysterious object. As they worked, other fish began to gather, drawn by the commotion. "What do you think it is?" asked a fish named Bubbles. "I have no idea," Finley replied, "but it looks important." Finally, the object was fully uncovered. It was a small, ornate chest, covered in intricate carvings that seemed to tell a story. The fish stared in awe, whispering among themselves. "Do you think there's something inside?" Coral asked, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "We have to find out," Finley said, his heart pounding with anticipation. With great effort, they managed to pry open the chest. Inside, they found a delicate, shimmering pearl. It was unlike any pearl they had ever seen, glowing with an ethereal light that filled the water around them. As Finley reached out to touch the pearl, a sudden current swept through the river, causing the fish to scatter. The pearl slipped from his grasp and tumbled down into a hidden crevice. "We have to get it back!" Coral exclaimed, diving after it. Finley followed, his heart racing. They swam deeper into the crevice, the light from the pearl guiding their way. But as they ventured further, they realized they were entering a part of the river that few dared to explore. The crevice led them into a vast underwater cavern filled with glowing plants and strange otherworldly creatures. The light from the pearl illuminated their surroundings, revealing a hidden world that was both beautiful and mysterious. "Wow," Coral whispered, "I've never seen anything like this." Finley was equally amazed. The cavern was like a different world, full of vibrant colors and strange shapes. They swam cautiously, taking in their surroundings. The pearl's light seemed to grow stronger as they ventured deeper into the cavern. As they swam, they encountered a group of fish unlike any they had ever seen. These fish were larger, with shimmering scales that reflected the light in a dazzling array of colors. One of them, a regal-looking fish with a crown-like fin, approached Finley and Coral. "Welcome," the regal fish said. "I am Lyria, the guardian of this cavern. What brings you here?" Finley and Coral explained their discovery of the pearl and how it had led them to this hidden world. Lyria listened intently, her eyes filled with curiosity. "The pearl you found is no ordinary pearl," Lyria said. "It is a magical artifact imbued with ancient powers. It has chosen you for a reason." Finley and Coral exchanged bewildered glances. "Chosen us? For what?" Finley asked. Lyria smiled. "There is a prophecy among our kind that speaks of a fish who will find the pearl and use its power to bring balance to the river. The pearl has chosen you to fulfill this prophecy." The weight of Lyria's words sank in. Finley felt a mixture of excitement and fear. He had never thought of himself as anything special, but now it seemed he had a destiny to fulfill. "What do we have to do?" Coral asked, her voice filled with determination. Lyria led them deeper into the cavern, to a place where the water was crystal clear and the light from the pearl shone even brighter. "You must use the pearl to unlock the ancient powers within you," she explained. "Only then can you restore balance to the river." Under Lyria's guidance, Finley and Coral began to explore the powers of the pearl. They discovered that it could amplify their natural abilities, giving them strength and speed beyond anything they had ever known. As they trained, they grew more confident in their abilities and their roles in the prophecy. One day, while practicing with the pearl, Finley felt a strange sensation. It was as if the pearl was communicating with him, guiding him towards something important. He closed his eyes and let the sensation lead him. When he opened his eyes, he found himself in front of a massive, ancient-looking stone covered in carvings similar to those on the chest. "Finley, look," Coral exclaimed, pointing to the carvings. "It's the same patterns as the chest." Lyria swam up beside them, her eyes wide with recognition. "This is the Stone of Origins," she said. "It holds the key to unlocking the full power of the pearl." Finley placed the pearl in a small indentation on the stone. As soon as he did, the carvings began to glow, and the stone shifted, revealing a hidden chamber. Inside, they found an ancient scroll, written in a language they couldn't understand. "This scroll contains the secrets of the pearl's power," Lyria explained, "but it can only be read by one who is truly worthy." Finley felt a surge of determination. He had come this far, and he was not about to give up now. He reached out and touched the scroll, and to his amazement, the words began to glow and rearrange themselves into a language he could read. "The power of the pearl is not just physical," he read aloud. "It is the power of the heart and the spirit. To restore balance to the river, one must be willing to sacrifice for the greater good." As the words sank in, Finley realized what he had to do. He looked at Coral and Lyria, who nodded in understanding. Together, they returned to the surface, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. When they emerged from the cavern, they found the river in turmoil. Pollution and debris were choking the water, and the fish were struggling to survive. Finley knew that this was the imbalance the prophecy spoke of, and it was up to him to fix it. With the pearl in hand, Finley swam to the center of the river. He could feel the power of the pearl coursing through him, but he also felt the weight of the responsibility it carried. He closed his eyes and focused on the heart and spirit of the river, letting the pearl guide him. As he concentrated, the pearl's light grew brighter, spreading through the water like a beacon. The pollution began to dissolve, and the debris was swept away by the current. The fish around him seemed to gain strength and vitality, their scales shimmering with renewed energy. But the effort took its toll on Finley. He could feel his strength waning, and he knew that the pearl was drawing on his life force to restore the river. He thought of the words on the scroll about the power of sacrifice for the greater good. He knew what he had to do. With a final surge of energy, Finley poured all of his heart and spirit into the pearl. The light became blinding, and the river was filled with a sense of peace and balance. As the light faded, Finley felt himself slipping away, but he knew that he had fulfilled his destiny. When he opened his eyes, he found himself back in the cavern, surrounded by Coral, Lyria, and the other fish. The pearl was gone, but its power had been transferred to the river, restoring it to its natural state. "Finley, you did it," Coral said, tears of joy streaming down her face. Lyria nodded in approval. "You have brought balance to the river, just as the prophecy foretold. You are truly worthy." Finley felt a sense of peace and fulfillment. He had discovered the power within himself and used it to make a difference. As he looked around at the smiling faces of his friends and the renewed beauty of the river, he knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. And so, the quiet fish from the River Serene became a legend, a symbol of courage and sacrifice. His story would be told for generations, a reminder that even the smallest among us can make a big difference.